It said we're live.
I think we're live, yeah. So we'll kind of just do some small chat first because we're going to wait to see if anybody joins us. But also, this is our first live. Yay, episode 1. What does OSINT IRL mean to you, Sarah? I'm going to like fiddle around with this a little bit.
What
do you
does
think?
OSINT believe me to leave? Well, it's to talk about OSINT as it applies to everyday life or in real life. So we're looking at different events or different concepts that are occurring in today's society and how those concepts or events would relate to OSINT investigations or how to investigate them.
All right, cool. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. So, like today, we're going to talk about, like we had all this new stuff for Epstein, and that's our main talk. That's like our first topic. It's really not Epstein, though. It's CoffeeZilla who we're talking about, right?
Right.
But yeah. So, but we are not the news, right, Sarah? We don't
Nope.
break news.
Nope.
We're not going
Don't
to talk
break.
about what happened today. It's not.
Oh,
It's not our
yeah.
topic. We have a very
Right.
specific topic having to do with this. That we're going to talk about how to do OSINT IRL to like help you do your own investigations if you want to on the same sort of thing. So that's not really what happened today. So we're just going to kind of leave it alone. Hopefully we get a few people jumping in here. I'm trying to see like in my stream manager how many people are following. I can't tell, but in my yeah, I have no idea.
I sometimes drink coffee when I'm talking. So.
Oh, by all means, I sometimes drink whiskey when I'm talking.
Oh, right on.
But it is happy hour time for me. So, okay. Well, I'm just learning the Twitch software. Are you following us right now too, Sarah? Are you watching on Twitch as well? Do you have it muted or no?
Let's see here.
No, you don't have to. The only reason I'm
Okay.
asking is because we have 2 viewers right now, which is fine. If it's me and somebody else, hey, say hello to us in the chat. We're just kind of getting used to the format. This is going to be very informal kind of stuff here. This OSINT and IRL is about, I mean, if you're an OSINT investigator and you're really interested in learning some skills, you're going to learn some stuff from us. But if you're just also a hobbyist or just want to learn a little bit more about it, you're going to learn a lot from us, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I hope so.
And hopefully people will also go ahead and feel free to chat with us and give us their opinions on things because we are going to be opinionated ourselves. Not too bad. We're not gonna pick on anybody. That's our goal, is not to pick on anybody. But we are going to be opinionated on how we think to do things the right way. And yeah, in general, when we think of OSINT, there's like a lot of aspects to it. What are you going to say, Sarah?
I was also going to say, and sometimes we do cuss.
Oh yeah, we discussed this just now. We're going to cuss. We're not going to hold ourselves back.
It's natural, and frankly, when somebody cusses, it's typically a sign that they're just being more their authentic self versus covering up the cuss.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're not going to self-censor that sort of stuff. Maybe criticisms about people we might self-censor, but we're not going to self-censor swear words. I was in the Army. Comes natural. I don't know. It was natural before that. I'm originally a Montanan, and I guess I'm going to blame it on that. So, but okay. So let's pop open to our first video clip. What do you think, Sarah?
I think that's a good idea.
To get started. All right. So our first, let me preface this by saying the first video clip has to do with CoffeeZilla. If you don't know who CoffeeZilla is, go find out. All right. After the video is done, when it's published on Twitch, and when we forward it and publish it on YouTube, I'll put the links up to the exact videos and that sort of thing. But right now, I'm just going to kind of show you a little bit. But CoffeeZilla on his second channel, Voidzilla, showed us that he and a colleague recreated the inside of the prison that Epstein was in. And I'm just going to show you the clip, and then we'll talk about how that happened. All right, so let's go ahead and add that to the stage. Again, bear with us. I'm not necessarily going to be the most talented at this right now because first time using this right now, but all right. There we go. How are we doing? You see it, Sarah?
I see it.
Me too. So that's good news up first, right? Okay,
Yep.
so I'm going to go ahead and play it just a little bit, and then we're going to stop and talk about it.
3D to show you the top 5 lies hidden in the government's footage. You can get the raw file on Patreon to explore it yourself, and let's jump into it. Lie number 5, you're going to get a video of the cell.
And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself.
Kash Patel, the FBI director, told us that this footage was of Jeffrey Epstein's cell, but it's not. Let's fly over to where Epstein's cell actually is. I've marked it with a green door. Down the hall, we actually see a camera marked in red that wasn't recording the night of Epstein's death, which brings us to our next lie. There was only one camera.
There's a video of him.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay. There was only one camera.
Deputy Director Dan Bongino of the FBI told us there was only one camera in the special housing unit, but that's not true. There were at least 2 cameras recording and 9 other cameras that were working but not recording due to a malfunction only days earlier. Now, the official report says that recordings should have been made for about half of the cameras, but in Epstein's block, only 2 out of 11 cameras were recording. Really bad luck, I guess. Now, I should say all the cameras were working before that, at a time when Epstein accused his cellmate of trying to kill him, and this was contradicted by his cellmate who said Epstein tried to commit.
You know, I think I was trying to get to the point where he's like showing it's kind of a little bit farther in there. I'm going to kind of, yeah, okay. We're just going to go back to where it was kind of showing the cell. All right, so the cool thing about this is that they did make a Blender file about this whole floor in the prison, and I think that's why I wanted to bring this one up. Like, can you make a Blender file of like the inside of a building you've never been to, and all you have is a video clip? And well, hell yeah, you can, right? Before we really jump into that, I do want to highlight, go to CoffeeZilla's Patreon and you can download the Blender file. If you're not familiar with Blender, it's 3D modeling, but they already did all the 3D modeling. So you can actually download the file and walk through it or fly through it yourself. Also, on his Patreon file, which by the way, yes, I subscribed to his Patreon. And yes, even before this, I had a CoffeeZilla t-shirt. I'm feeling very smart about this. Anyway, the cool thing about this is that the creator of the actual file talks about how hard it was really to actually get this all to match the exact same sizes and everything. And it's really, really interesting, but really nitty gritty Blender stuff. And we're going to talk about nitty gritty OSINT stuff. Right. Sarah, what do you have to say?
Well, first of all, I think that the production on this was just absolutely outstanding. And one of the first questions that I asked you when we talked about it was what tool did they use, which was Blender. I think it's always important in OSINT to look at, what are alternative tools that can do the same thing, but it's just in case, you need one because one's not working. But I thought that this was a very well thought out and well conducted IRL investigation. I also liked how he looked at competing hypotheses. So, he combined the modeling with the actual competing hypotheses of, it could have been this because it was this, or could have been that, because of this. And then to take those things and combine it with facts of what occurred and what didn't occur. I thought it was frankly awesome.
And that reminds me that I do have a analysis of competing hypotheses GPT that I made that anybody can use for free. It's a GPT that I created for basically for you to create your own hypotheses. And I'll share that in the show notes later. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you were to be taking on this type of project, not necessarily this one, but say that there's a building, you want to map the inside of that building, but all you have is a video or a few photographs, something like that. What are some of the options that you can do to map that building? And before we even say that, let me talk about how Blender is an analysis tool in this case, but also a visualization tool and something that can help you get the word across to whoever's viewing it. If they didn't create this, it would not be anywhere near as clear as to how the camera actually view looked. So if you're doing a case where you're kind of creating a virtual environment, creating it in Blender is a brilliant idea. Although when I listened to the guy who actually did all the Blender work on this, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and some other things that you could use to combine with this would be also real estate files, property records, going to the library, even in some instances, to see what archival information might be there on buildings. So there's a lot of things that you can combine with this to make it comprehensive. And I think so. And I also liked although you didn't show it, the part with the
we'll show that
of the
staircase. Yeah, the part you put in the document. We're going to show
staircase. That. Okay.
Oh no, not the staircase one. Okay, so yeah, really everybody needs to go and watch this whole video. Now, today, new documents released, theoretically the missing time or whatever, so that makes this video a little bit dated because of they're talking about that. We're not going to go into that, but watch this whole thing and you can kind of see, like Sarah's talking about the staircase. Go ahead and talk about the staircase, Sarah.
Well, what they did is with the Blender file is they showed how the actual surveillance footage that they had, how you would actually miss a person or how you could miss a person on that staircase. So somebody could go on the staircase up to Epstein's cell and actually not be seen depending on what side they were standing on the staircase. So I thought that was a very good point that they looked at.
And it's not just like, I mean, it is academic, but it's not just academic. They did like size. They tried to make everything true to size in both the whole facility, but also people. So I thought that was really, really interesting as well. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, you think, okay, I want to get this building and I have a few pictures or I have a video and I want to be able to see if I can rebuild the inside of this building. Sarah already mentioned like some real estate material. I think also don't forget to go to social media and see if somebody else is sharing some images. Now, in the case of a prison, probably unlikely, right? Because only certain people can take pictures inside the prison, and you're probably only going to get official video. But in any other building, somebody's putting some videos of themselves in it and on Instagram or wherever else, and you're going to be able to get a little bit more detail about that building as well.
And if there is, if there's any CCTV cameras that you can tell what model the CCTV camera is, that can also be of use to look at how that model theoretically would be set up in a space.
And where it like has weirdness to it, because some of them have,
absolutely.
Some weird diffracting or something. Also, I'm just looking at the document over here, like photos throughout history, right? So, I mean, he just pretty much used this video, but for this facility, there probably are some throughout history, some other photos, and you can compare that like maybe with something like Google Earth or Google Maps, where you can go back through time and see if new sections were built on or not. You know,
and public records, usually you have to get a certificate to do building. So you would look and see what certificates are there in relation to a building, like for updates.
You might be lucky enough to get some like architectural drawings.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're talking about the 3D replication of the prison. Besides using Blender, a couple other tools that you might consider using to create your visualization, and maybe they're not going to do 3D, maybe they are, but I know that there's like a couple of AI tools, or not even AI, but modeling tools, like poly modeling tools, you can actually get on a phone where you could scan a place. Now, they're not inside here to scan the place, but they might be able to like use those tools to help them rebuild the place as well. And then also even just schematics, right? Build your own schematics.
Yep.
If you need to.
Yeah, you can.
Blender's not necessarily easy. Although there's a guy out there on YouTube called the Blender Guru, and he'll teach you from the beginning to the end how to use Blender. So I started taking the class, but then I realized, wow, this is intense. And so I have put it on hold for right now.
Huh. Is it another one called Matterport? Was it Matterport?
That does what?
That helps make 3D modeling. I'm trying to remember the name. There was another tool.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of tools out there, but I
Yeah.
think Blender is one of the best because it's free and it is pretty full function for a free tool. So we will put the link for Blender into the show notes as well. Let me make a note to myself right here. And then I want to also make a note to give you guys the Blender guru for those of you who really want to go into that kind of stuff. He does a really good job. Again, I just need to dive into it again. I guess one of the other problems I had diving into it though is Blender. It can be on Mac or on Windows. I use Mac. And this guy teaches the Windows version, which similar, but not exact. And so when he'll say, okay, go find this, I will be spending half an hour looking for where is that part in the Mac version. So.
And that's actually an interesting question or interesting issue you just raised, because I mean, I used to always just use a Mac. And then what I've done is I'm actually, I'm doing both. I've become bi. So I use both a Mac and and I use a Windows-based system as well. I've done that also with my phones, as I have a.
Well, I do that where I have a iPhone and a Android phone, and I do use the Windows interface in a VM. I have some Windows computers, but they haven't been started for a while. But usually I'll just use them to use tools like FOCA that require you to use Windows. So Blender, you can use it on Mac, and my Mac is awesome. It has all the graphics cards and everything can support Blender. But I just don't. I guess I just need to find the Mac Blender guru. So if anybody knows who that is, put it in the comments below, and we'll see if we can't bring that up.
The other tool I was thinking is called Matterport. So like if you
Matterport, okay.
Matterport, yeah, it's
Fill
a
that out
3D.
for me, please.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure I put it in the show notes.
Okay. So it's a 3D spatial modeling tool.
Is it Matterpoint or Natterpoint?
Matterport, Matterport, Matterport.
All right, thank you. So I will. Is that free?
No, but it has some stuff on the site that you can use. So it's freemium.
Freemium. Okay, good. Yeah, and I think that Blender generally is freemium too, but the basics of Blender, there's a lot you can do for free.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So there was another section of this, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this one from the stage, and we'll stop that one from being shared. And let me show you the other clip of the same video that we wanted to talk about too, because it talks about metadata. What do you think about metadata, Sarah?
Well, I think it's incredibly useful. The first time I used metadata was in 2001 or 2002. And I used it to actually reverse search somebody's metadata on their photo to their location in Tanzania.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So, I remember like in the beginning of the dark web, there's a lot of photos that had metadata. It was awesome. And then they
I know, and now they stripped so much of it out. It's not as easy as it used to be. I mean, that it would just sit there and you'd be like, oh, I can figure out where this thing is exactly right now.
Exactly. They take it with their cell phone and they list it and
right.
Well, not anymore. Okay, we're gonna add this guy to the stage again. And again, this is CoffeeZilla. But notice that it's on his Voidzilla page. Again, I will share that link. And he's going to be talking about how they figured out that the missing minute, which apparently the new documents don't have a missing minute anymore.
Are two modified videos because both were edited in Premiere Pro. Now, it isn't clear exactly what was edited, but expert forensic analysts who spoke to Wired said the footage wouldn't stand up in court, had 1 minute, no wait, actually 3 minutes missing. And now there are reports that the DOJ has the full footage, but just hasn't released it.
All right, let's point out that they released it today. It sounds like it's kind of a nothing burger. Sounds like there's nothing else to it. And why would there be? Because we already identified that the problems with that camera, right? But the cool thing about this is the metadata part. So if you're looking for metadata, Sarah, what's your favorite metadata tool?
Oh gosh. It depends what kind of metadata. If
Well,
it's
video,
image,
not everything does video.
yeah, if it's image metadata, then one of the ones I used to like was Jeffrey's viewer.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
gone.
I know, but that used to be my favorite go-to. And now I just use a variety of different ones. I mean, FOCA, the first time I saw FOCA, God, that was at a hacking conference. I just went to a hacking conference because I wanted to see what they were doing.
Yeah,
And it was
FOCA is
right
awesome.
when they had made FOCA, and I was really impressed with FOCA. And I think FOCA is probably still one of the best ones out there.
I agree.
For metadata.
Especially for like any file, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an image file. I've got a whole bunch of favorites for images. FOCA can handle any file.
Yep.
Documents,
then
whatever. Throw them in there. See if they have metadata.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, I mean, if you're using email, you should always check to see, what metadata you can pull from email that it's being sent to you. But that depends on what email service you're using.
Right. And I'm going to put the link for FOCA, not only the link where it's at right now, but also the link for that video they did way back, and I think it was DEF CON 18. And keep in mind, we're on DEF CON, I think they just did 33 or 34 last month, something like that.
Yeah,
so it's an old, FOCA is an old program, and it's going to be a little bit slow, and it's going to be kind of annoying, and it's Windows only, right? Only Windows. So it seems a little annoying, but watch that video and you'll decide, hey, this is worth spending the time on it. As far as other metadata tools, most of them are built off of ExifTool, which is something that Phil Harvey created, and I will put the ExifTool link in, and that's something that you can download and install on your own computer and run it however you want. There's a website called exif.tools, which just basically kind of shows some of the information from that. But my favorite right now for photos only is Forensically, because it gives you the string data. And in the string data, you can now start seeing the C2PA data, which is AI or any photography element. It's provenance. So the idea is that you create a picture with whatever it is. Say you're making it with ChatGPT. It'll stamp itself as ChatGPT in the C2PA. And the next time you edit it on Photoshop will add another line to it and say, now I was edited on Photoshop. So you'll see the whole editing history. And if that's all gone, then you're going to wonder, what happened to that picture? Is it fake? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll be spoofed, but I'm really loving the idea of the C2PA right now. And I'll put the C2PA information also in the notes.
And really other things is, for our viewers, we also review all of these tools that we do use, and we put them in our knowledge portal.
Right. Yeah. And we definitely will have that in the notes as well. And if you haven't gone to our website, plessas.net, and our knowledge portal is knowledgebase.plessas.net. All right. So we're done with Voidzilla, I think. Let's talk about the one you brought up, which was the lizard people. Let me go ahead and I'm going to remove this from the screen. And if you want to go ahead and give us an intro to what the lizard people stuff is about.
Okay. Well, the lizard people is an ongoing conspiracy theory that was first created by David Icke, but it actually has a longer kind of mystical or mythological historical bent to it before him. But he was one who first wrapped it as the lizard people coming from the Draco constellation. And then these lizard people, drink human blood and eat their flesh. And it kind of has a bent to it or a hint to it of some of the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that have run about Jews baking children into biscuits for Purim. So this very underlying anti-Semitic theme was actually wrapped by somebody who also happens to be a Holocaust denier, because David Icke was a Holocaust denier. And his conspiracy theory got thrown into and has moved forward and got carried by QAnon and other groups, and it's become quite popular, and it's led to crimes where people have actually been killed, or there's been bombings, or
Right.
there's been
We'll get into
murders.
that. We have two clips. And
Yeah.
clip is about one of the followers of him who became a kind of a cult leader herself. So we'll go ahead and check that one out. All right. So now notice this is the lizard people murders from Vice. So again, we will share that link with you in the show notes. But let's listen to this clip.
According to her, not only were actors and world leaders secret serpents, but most humans, including your own friends and family, could not be trusted.
Most of the people we're looking at are fakes. Out of every 4 humans, only 1 is real, has real human DNA.
All right. So
Sherry Schreiner, I mean, she essentially just copied Ike, because with her, what she did is, as far as her cult, because Ike said, I'm God. She came forward and said, I'm a god. And she got all these people to follow her, and some of them went out and committed crimes because they were killing what they considered to be non-human. And that is the other, I think, really underlying problem with human rights as it relates to conspiracy theories. This kind of conspiracy theory specifically is dehumanizing. So once you dehumanize a human, that lays groundwork for human rights violations or criminal activities. So with OSINT, it's how do you debunk these things?
Mm-hmm. I do want to highlight something that's kind of interesting to me, is that I guess it came about after that. A lot of Gen Xers will remember this, the show V. It was like 88 or 89. And so V was these lizard people that came down and they wore like these plastic human faces, but they were really lizards. And it seems like that really like caught their imagination and decided that it was lizard people. So we talk about OSINT, maybe if you want to like research the history of it, maybe go watch those old V episodes. It was a TV series.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And when I was on the counter disinformation team at State Department, is you would go back and look at where these things might have originated from, and with the lizard people, you're dead on with the fact that part of it probably did come from V. There's even older depictions in mythology of shapeshifters, of people turning into lizards. Mm-hmm. So. What has happened is these things have been, it's kind of like grapevine theory, where you take something and you change it and you change it and you change it
until it catches on. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, is like maybe he was like already kind of going that way. But when V came out, that captured people's imaginations because it was an interesting show.
Right.
And so maybe then he was able to like get more people because of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it also, though, shows how within OSINT, you need to be able to do historical research on these things, and be able to go back and look at things that might be outside the scope of what you would consider as normal facts. So is there a fable that relates to the conspiracy theory?
The influences.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So I think
the lizard people debunking thing, like, how can you not debunk it? I mean, like, I don't know. Sometimes I think some of these conspiracy theories, especially like the lizard people, sometimes I think if somebody believes in that, they are too far gone to debunk. What do you think, Sarah? Is there a way to debunk it?
I think that's a hard one. I mean, after September the 11th, 2001, you had a whole bunch of people that were indoctrinated into extremist ideologies. And some of them went home and went to schools for or classes to try and change how they thought about that ideology. I think that it's the same kind of thing for cults and conspiracy theories. Is when somebody is indoctrinated, they are indoctrinated. So how do you unindoctrinate somebody? And at that point, you really do have to look at education and doing it, in a more educational way, that makes them understand the process of how they've been indoctrinated. Because if you just go on head on and say, well, lizard people are bollocks, to somebody who believes that there are indeed lizard people, that's just going to reinforce their core belief.
Mhm.
So you have to actually kind of come around and say, this is how people are indoctrinated. Oh, by the way, here's an example, and kind of break it down from there. And it can be, I think, a process. I think it's really important to have the sites like Snopes and some of the other sites where you have classic debunk of material. And I mean that's critical for journalists and for investigators.
On the more realistic stuff.
Yeah, for the more realistic stuff. But for the people that are actually indoctrinated, that's a different thing that you have to actually counter it with education. And in some instances, you might actually have to counter it with counter propaganda. But truthful counter propaganda. Not
And I think there's a whole study of people getting people out of cults, right? So that's like probably where I would go with that, because at that point, if they are really believing the lizard people, it's a cult at that point.
Yeah. And I want to preface my definition of propaganda in that sense. It's more influence versus what you would think of as negative connotation of the word propaganda. But and I agree with you that it's very much like cults. And when I was at State Department, we Todd Leventhal, who I was working with at that time, he had a whole group of people come in that all specialized in cults.
Oh, yeah.
And they specialized in cults and extremist ideology, and we had a big conference, and they looked at cross comparisons between these conspiracy theories that were being put out by terrorists at that time, and cult like mentality. So there is a lot of crossover, and so you really have to look at cult deprogramming.
Yeah, it's like okay. We have another clip from the same video, so I'm going to remove this one, and we're going to go ahead and drop in the new clip. Let's see. Someday I'm going to be faster than this at this, but again, first day, leave me alone, right? Let's see. Okay, here we go. And this has to do with the murders now, right? To preface this, Sarah, like there was a murder that they talk about before this one, and now they're going on to like some more notable ones.
There's been so many at this point. I mean, especially over the past 5 to 6 years, there's been so many different, lizard people affiliated crimes.
I think everybody's going to recognize one that he mentions.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
This was far from the only case of violence involving conspiracy theories about alligator men. Take Isaiah Gentry, an Arizona teen who stabbed his dad in 2020.
Police say Gentry told them he tried to kill his father because a, quote, shape-shifting reptile had taken over.
Or Bucky Wolf, who in 2019 claimed God told him his brother was turning into a lizard.
A 26-year-old Seattle man is in jail after prosecutors say he killed his brother Sunday night, stabbing him in the head with a sword.
Or Anthony Quinn Warner, who in 2020 set off a bomb in Nashville, Tennessee on Christmas Day, killing himself and injuring 8 others. Days before the bombing, he'd sent packages and letters to friends explaining his belief in lizard conspiracy theories.
Warner wrote, "They put a switch into the human brain so they could walk among us and appear human."
And if you are a person who is prone to violence, who's prone to conspiracy theories, you're going to look at this reptile elite as part of the New World Order, part of the deep state.
Okay. I think in the case of Warner specifically, there were so many red flags before he actually conducted the bombing. The one lady he was friends with even told law enforcement, "This person has told me that he is building a bomb," and she wasn't taken seriously. So I think that part of it is there's been a tendency for people not to take the threat of conspiracy theories seriously. And And I think that that is something that has been changing since actually over the past 20 years.
Can I jump in for a minute? And
Yeah,
that I
go
want
ahead.
to talk about the threat. So yes, they are not taking the threat seriously when somebody calls in, and we're hoping that people, when they see this in their family members or their friends, they call in. But then you also have a lot of people calling in with things that don't look to be threats or never pan out to be threats. And so it
Right.
becomes very hard. And maybe this has to do with not being trained to recognize whether this one really is a threat or not. I wouldn't put that on police. I would say that at that point, is that if you kind of have that threat, maybe we need to have some psychology training for police, or not even necessarily that, but maybe a psychologist who can do that kind of evaluation. The police psychologist who says, okay, this person's probably really a problem, or no, this is somebody causing problems for somebody else, like swatting.
Well, I think the FBI has finally realized that conspiracy theories can indeed be a threat because they finally issued something. Yeah, they've actually, finally issued something not too long ago that was a statement on conspiracy theories. But historically, conspiracy theories haven't always been looked at as being a pivotal point to a violent act, unless you were on like a small analytical team. It wasn't something that a larger group of people said this is a huge threat. So a case in point in 2003. There was a whole thing when I was in Baghdad where they said, oh, Dick Cheney is going to go arrest Muqtada al-Sadr at his house. And he's going, and it was obvious that it was disinformation. Dick Cheney wasn't getting in a car and driving over to Muqtada al-Sadr's house to arrest him. But that's what some of the local population believed, because that was what was put out as a conspiracy theory or piece of disinformation. Sure enough, several thousand people protested. And it was like, oh my gosh, we didn't realize somebody would protest. And it's like, that kind of thing can cause this. And the same thing with this, with the pushing of the lizard people, because it right now, the lizard people as a theme or a narrative conspiracy theory has just become, so popular in the current media environment. And you have so many people that believe it. So
I have another example of the conspiracy theory that created a protest, and that is that JFK is going to come back. And then they had some kind of thing in Denver, or in Dallas about him coming back.
Yeah. So
some people stayed there for over a month, I believe.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's reasonable for threat assessments, like for a given area, to include that, to include, is there a certain sentiment or narratives that are running in the environment that would create a physical threat? I mean, I think that's a reasonable category to have in assessments. And then
so how would you find that? Since this is IRL.
Yeah. How would I do that?
How would you find when people are saying that?
I see what you're saying.
Conspiracy theory, and we think that this is going to happen today in Louisiana in West Monroe. How can I find that information?
So you would go look at the social media platforms and the specifically the influencers on the social media platforms that are putting out these conspiracy theories, so that what's coming down the pike. And then you would look at the amplification of it, like who's amplifying it, who's carrying it. Sometimes it will be, sometimes once you follow that chain and you're looking at doing an analysis of influence activities with these conspiracy theories, sometimes it'll even lead back to a foreign or state actor who or a troll farm or a bot farm. But all of these things, have become a part of OSINT investigations. When I first started looking at these things in 2001, 2002, at that point, they weren't, described as being a part of OSINT. It was, oh, you're looking at things related to PSYOPs or information operations. But in actuality, those two things really overlap. There has to be an OSINT component, because it's not going away, and it's become a bigger issue with our social media environment.
So I want to kind of highlight something though. So do the people in West Monroe have to follow every conspiracy theory to find out when something's going to show up in West Monroe? protest?
No, they would look and see which ones are prevalent on social media and which ones are being amplified.
But like for maybe the prevalent one is this lizard people, and it's crazy, but nobody near West Monroe believes it at all. So I think the key thing is that you also have to figure out, like, locate these things.
Right. And there are tools that can sometimes help with that. And so like some of the tools that I think are helpful for this kind of investigation or that kind of research, some of them are actually marketing tools.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're looking at the sentiment analysis within an area. And so you might not, I mean, some of them can be traditional OSINT tools, but in some instances, you're pulling from what would be considered traditional marketing tools, because you're specifically looking at the sentiment analysis of a particular topic. So one of the ones
for your area, you can figure out, like, is lizard people something people talk about in your area? What's the sentiment around it? Maybe it's like nobody's talking about it, but maybe it is people are talking about it and they're very angry.
Right. You know, and one of the tools that I was just thinking of that I used to like using was a social bearing. And then you
I don't know. I feel like something happened with them. Let me see.
That was a long time ago. I haven't used that one lately.
Yeah,
but
I think oh, you know what? I used to use it for Twitter, and then when Twitter made the API super expensive, they just like dropped it.
Yeah.
So,
and then TweetBinder is helpful.
Again, a lot of the Twitter ones aren't great anymore, but I'll tell you which one I really like right now is F5bot, because F5bot is more of a Reddit, and I mean, it's not just Reddit. Let me see what it says. Let's see. It's Reddit, Hacker News, and Lobster.
TweetBinder still works. It's but you only get like 1 or 2 free queries on it.
Oh, okay. Well, F5bot is just like something that you can set up some queries in like Reddit and let them just keep coming in.
Okay.
So, you said TweetBinder was the one you're talking about?
Yeah. So that one you get.
I just want to make sure I include that link.
So that one you get a few free queries, and then it goes to premium. But that one is definitely helpful, and in fact, you can use that one for not just like sentiment analysis, but you can actually use that to do things like tracking human trafficking. Because
you know what's good about that one is that if it is still working, it's working on X, which actually is
it does.
A lot of tools got killed once the API backed up prices.
Yeah.
So I would say there's a lot of conspiracy theories on X.
Yes. Yeah. So you can use terms that are specific to that conspiracy theory, put it in TweetBinder.
Or to your location.
I haven't done to the location on TweetBinder.
Well, I mean, just using terms to your location. Like, so if somebody's going to have a protest for JFK in West Monroe, they're going to put hashtag West Monroe.
Yeah. And then there's the other one, Hunter.io. But I don't know if that one's still working.
I feel like you're talking about TweetHunter.
Yes.
Hunter.io, I think, is TweetHunter. TweetHunter.io. Hunter.io is an email search.
Yep, you're right. I got it confused.
But you know what people can do if they want to find more. So we don't necessarily need to give all of the Twitter ones or Reddit ones out there. They can go to our digital knowledge base.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can just go search for Twitter
and
sentiment analysis or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the big thing is when you're looking at these tools on the knowledge base or anywhere else for that matter, is pivoting from one tool to another. Mm-hmm. So, you would want to use like you could use 1 or 2 free queries on TweetBinder. If you find something that, and the TweetBinder, by the way, will break down the influencers for you. So it gives you who the influencers are with that theme. And so you can go straight to that account on X and see, okay, this was the person putting it out. And then you can see who's following them or who's engaging with them. And then you can start trying to figure out where they are. So that one I think is pretty helpful.
I'm looking right now for the knowledge base so I can kind of throw it online. But this is a problem when you have too many tabs up and StreamYard kind of like shows you every single tab. Yeah. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
There we go. I found it.
So, yeah. But marketing and branding tools, or what we could even some of the SEO tools are helpful. And the other thing is with looking at conspiracy theories, if you find a conspiracy theory website that is putting out conspiracy theories, one of the other ways to find out who else is amplifying it is to look at backlinks of the domain. So if you, like, for example, if you're looking at conspiracy theories on InfoWars, and you want to see what sites might be picking up stuff from InfoWars, in addition to the traditional OSINT tools that you might use, you would also use some marketing tools like Ahrefs, Ahrefs, and get their 100 free backlinks, and then you can look at the prominent 100 backlinks that are engaged as backlinks with that domain. It doesn't mean as a backlink, though, that it is also a conspiracy theory site, because it could be, like, for example, news article referencing that InfoWars is putting out conspiracy theories. But a lot of times backlinks will provide qualitative pivot leads to other locations on a topic, including conspiracy theories.
All right, let's move on to our next video, this is just a really small thing I want to talk about, and that is going to be just the pervasiveness of cell phones in prisons. And what brought it to mind was Eric and Lyle Menendez just had their parole hearings, their first one since they got the change in sentence, and they both were denied. But one of the main reasons that they were denied is that at least Lyle, I think it's Lyle, that the video I'm going to show you. Let me double check. Yeah, he admitted to not only having a phone, but it sounds like once he gets rid of his phone, he gets it again. I want to point out that I just watched, what was it? There's a TV show where that happened. Oh gosh, I forget now. But like they busted him for a phone, and then the guard came back and handed him the phone and said, "Be more careful." Anyway, so let me add this to the stage, and we'll kind of watch this for just a second here.
Says this will involve the public notoriety of his case and conduct by CD staff as to what thinking was going on why the tablet was insufficient. Reardon asks again about Lyle using the cell phones when he had a tablet. Lyle again references privacy. He says many of his communications were being sold to tabloids. Okay, so what I want to say about this is there's whole YouTube channels dedicated to phone calls from prison. So like they do the FOIA and they get phone calls and they post them online. That's FOIA ability, right? I mean, yes. So he wants privacy, so he gets a phone. But the thing is, with these phones in prison, there's a reason that they don't have privacy. One, because they might be threatening somebody, etc. But also, if you have a cell phone in prison, that's not just a cell phone nowadays, right? It is a computer. You have social media, you have email, you have the news, you got everything. It's as if you were stuck at home during COVID, right? Rather than prison. What do you think, Sarah?
No, I absolutely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely is a problem for correctional officers to try and figure out who's got phones, etc. I'm going to assume that most correctional officers aren't like the one I saw on the TV show that I can't remember which one it is. They're not handing them back to them. But I do want to highlight that looking for them, finding them, sometimes you might be able to find them inside the prison using some kind of technical means, but sometimes you'll find them outside the prison, right? You might see them posting on social media.
Well, couldn't you also use Wiggle?
So Wiggle looks for SSIDs. I don't think it would find.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it would find a cell phone.
Right.
Yeah. So just a short note on that. We have one more topic, and which is going to bring us to the hour pretty much. So this last topic has to do with citizen investigators and citizen journalists. And so I'll let Lauren Mathis talk about it first, and then Sarah and I will give what we think should happen, or our opinions on what's going on there. So let's see. All right, so again, this is a Hidden True Crime, and it's Laura Mathis, and let's see.
This is to that and to the question before. a problem that we are having in this, basically even on the question that was asked 2 questions ago, is someone posts something on social media and then you all believe that it's true. I actually complimented the mainstream media because you've actually been reaching out to us for comment and actually been printing what we've told you. It hasn't been the sensationalism and the wants for clicks for social media. And that is doing nothing but harming this investigation. And when you form your opinion and come in here and ask questions like that, you're not serving the public in any way. The question way earlier, get some rest. There should be no one out there looking for baby Emmanuel except for us, because all you're going to do is complicate things in the future. And the one thing that I emphasize that I want to make it clear here, the reason this is happening relatively quickly and the reason why we got such a handle on this fast is I believe that the Inland Empire is served better by their 2 sheriff's offices than any place in the state. And this particular case doubled its efforts. So instead of having 4,500 people looking for baby Emmanuel, you had 9,000. And so how did we get all of this information? It's called investigation. And we have 2 entire departments doing nothing but sifting through evidence, searching for evidence, trying to figure out what happened, who was responsible, and how we're going to successfully prosecute it. And misinformation, lies, and purposeful misdirection is going to do nothing but harm this investigation. And I am begging all of you with cameras out here, don't be a part of it. We have an absolute breakdown of the justice system, and we are not preventing other children from being harmed when someone like Jake is allowed to be out on the streets harming children. And so the anger that I have, the frustration that I have, then combined with the misinformation and everything else, when for all of us and our employees, there is nothing more important to us than the death of a human, particularly a child.
The DA also emphasized that the public should avoid conducting their own searches or investigations, warning that it could potentially damage the case. He asked people to let the sheriff's departments handle everything, stating that they know how to do it properly. While it's true that no one should interfere with an active investigation or disrupt a potential crime scene, saying the public isn't helpful at all seems a bit overstated. In modern investigations, recent investigations, the public has often played a key role in solving cases, providing footage, tips, and even physically locating missing persons when law enforcement could not. And an example that stands out to me, especially today, is the murder of Gabby Petito. And the reason I say specifically today it stands out is because today marks 4 years since Gabby's life was cut short. It was the public who helped investigators find that video of Gabby's van, which led to finding Gabby's body.
Okay, so now before we really get talking about it, it's just the topic kind of that I want to talk about, and not necessarily about, whether it's Gabby Petito or not, that, et cetera. The sheriff, I understand the sheriff not wanting somebody going over there and running into evidence, but I also understand Lauren's point here, where citizen journalists can help with the investigation in some cases. The key thing is, I think, is knowing your boundaries. If you're a citizen journalist, you're doing OSINT, you're looking, you're not touching, right? You can look at things, you can gather information, but the thing is, like, and Sarah's going to say this as soon as I stop talking, I know she's going to start talking about touching a website, because that's like touching something too, right? But the key thing is don't ruin the evidence for the police when they get to it, right? Do not ruin the evidence for the police, because they're the ones who can actually take that evidence and put it in a court. You ruin the evidence, you might have a little bit of evidence, but the court's not going to take your evidence. They want the police and the DA to have the evidence, and they want that evidence clean. And so and I know that people are not going to stop doing investigative journalism is so important, but also citizen investigations, they're not going to stop. But the thing is, if we can just get the word out there to be, 1, careful not to ruin evidence, and 2, verification. Don't put information out until you absolutely verify it, because I think one of the main things, and I think most of us know this now, is when you finger the wrong person, you can ruin somebody's life. Sarah, I'm gonna let you go. I know you're like ready to go with this.
Well, I'd like to add to that too, is if you get qualitative data on an event, I mean, I do understand that, some people, they want to post up this cool thing that they found online. But sometimes the best thing is not to post it online and to contact law enforcement directly. So if you find a bomb threat, you're not going to post up, oh, I'm, this organization or this actor is going to go bomb XYZ in comments on Twitter or on Blue Sky or whatever, because at that point, not only are you not giving law enforcement a chance to respond, you could be actually tipping off that bad guy. So the bad guy might be, oh, well, okay, now, there's this online and I know that people know that I'm going to do this, so I'll change my date. So I think that's another aspect of it. And then a lot of times people will get it wrong if they're not they don't do due diligence. And so I think there's a difference between doing online investigations as a hobbyist or to be helpful in a responsible way, and then doing it as wanting to get attention. And
so Sarah, I think that as we go through this OSINTirl, one of the things we're really going to hammer down is verification, verify.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So hopefully everybody will continue watching us and find out what we have to say about it.
And just, I think it's really important to do the verification. And I think it's also important to, whenever you find something, is to do a self-analysis of harm of whether or not you post it online.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If it turns out to be wrong, are you going to ruin somebody's life? If it turns out to be wrong, is this going to be ruining some evidence? If it turns out to be right, did everybody now go pile in and go look at that website, and now the guy's taking it completely down or whatever, the evidence is ruined? Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you can treat it like a bug bounty. Like the hackers for bug bounties, they'll send in the information to the company first and let them act. And if they don't act, then later they release the information. And I think that would be kind of the same thing we should do as far as citizen investigators, right? Again, it's for anybody who's wanted to do that. They should consider sending it in and giving yourself a couple of days to identify whether they're doing something or not. Call back to find out if they're doing something or not, because they might be doing something you don't see. But if there's nothing's been taken, no steps have been taken, then that might be a reason why you would put it public.
Yes, and even then, the concept of should you put it public? Isn't necessary. There's still the question of should you put it public? Yeah. I mean, every OSINT investigator probably has that one thing that they've researched that they know that there's a vulnerability someplace and somebody has refused to fix it, but they know that, well, geez, if I put that in public, then that leaves XYZ vulnerable and it's automatically going to get hit. At which point it's like, okay, so you still self-censor it. So
I have a great example of something that citizen journalists and citizen investigators can do to learn where this boundary is, and that is to volunteer for the next TraceLabs CTF. And I know you've done a TraceLabs CTF, so can you explain what that is?
Yeah, the TraceLabs CTF, I did that during COVID because I thought it was a cool initiative. Is you have a group of people that are all crowdsourced together. I didn't win. It's okay. I did it because I wanted.
I mean, it's a game. It's gamified, but it
is gamified. It really is gamified. But when you join, you're crowdsourcing with other people under a set of rules, and they're very clear about what those rules are, to go out and passively collect to help find missing people. It's a wonderful program. They actually have helped locate multiple people, and they assist law enforcement. There's another one called Skull Games that is also helpful, where people can go help to help find human traffickers. Skull Games, though, is mostly for U.S. trafficking versus international trafficking.
Yeah, I want to highlight that both of these are going to, like, in some cases, you find the answer, you put in the information to them, they are not distributing it back out to everyone, because it's going to just law enforcement, because some people who are missing do not want to be found, and it is their right to be missing.
Right.
So And so it's really interesting, but that's something what you can, not only can it teach you some OSINT skills, they do training before, and I believe on both of them, but also they can teach you some boundaries, like where not to go past.
Right.
So,
But I do think it's important, to have humans go find things that are of help to law enforcement and to the greater global community. I mean, there have been lots of citizen journalists or hobbyists that have identified very serious human rights violations. So
now I think we are out of time, but I do want to highlight that I want everybody to go check out OSINTcocktail.com. This is a video podcast that I do with Amber Schroeder, Kelly Paxton, and Cynthia Navarro. And we talk about documentaries and TV shows and movies, and we talk about the OSINT bits in them and what 4 senior analysts, investigators think about them. So there's me who do OSINT. There's Amber, she's got the cell phone forensics, that computer forensics. We've got Kelly, who does the financial information. And then we've got Cynthia Navarro, who also does OSINT, but she comes from Silicon Valley specifically. So she's got a different point of view than I do. So I hope everybody goes and checks that out. And we will upload this to YouTube. It'll be available here as well. And hopefully we'll be able to see you next week. Sarah, how can they help us out with this?
Well, they can give us any suggestions on topics they might be interested in, or
where would they do that?
Yeah. Where would they do that?
In our academy, right? So I'll put the link in for our OSINT community in the academy, which I'm looking on the academy page and it's not right front and center, but I will find that and I'll put that in the link as well. And it's a $5.99 per month or $65 a year commitment. Basically, what does it get you? One, you help us produce this. Maybe we're just beginning with this and you don't really trust that it's going to be going on or not. Well, okay, wait for a while, whatever. But the other things you get, things that people have been getting for a while now, are the updates in the digital knowledge space, which is open to anyone, but really highlighted in that portal. The ability to help us create this, and a really nice premium newsletter produced by Sarah Womer. All right. So if you're interested in helping us for just a tiny bit, like a coffee, I will have that link in the show notes as well.
And our knowledge base is knowledgebase.plessas.net.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.